Hi, so I need to talk something out with you, and this is gonna get really vulnerable, so prepare yourself. I do this really horrible thing where I pick at the skin around my fingers, and it's the worst habit I do, and I've done it literally my entire life, since I was 2 years old. And one of my friends recently saw that I do it, and of course, whenever everyone sees that I do it, they're always like, "Oh my God, how can I help you? How can we make you stop? Like, that looks so painful. Oh my God, how can I help you? Like, do you want a fidget toy or anything?" Which I understand that they're trying to help, but it's like, this is something that has been like ingrained in me. It's not going to be fixed by a fidget toy, okay? And he saw that I was doing this, and he was going to Pavlov dog me, basically. And every time he saw me do this, he was going to feed me grapefruit juice and olives. And I hate grapefruit juice and olives. They're my two least favorite foods on the entire planet. I think they're disgusting. I think they're horrible. And he did so for a week. So my brain at least formed a negative connotation towards doing it, because then I could like taste it on my tongue every time that I went to go pick. And so it caused me to pause and have some form of hesitancy towards picking. But at the end of the day, I still went back to it. I finally turned to him and I said, if I know my why, like why I do this, I bet you I could stop, because I used to be a really, really bad smoker. Like I used to be smoking like 5 cigarettes at least a day. And then I figured out that the only reason I was smoking is because it was like a form of rebellion against my parents and my upbringing, even though my parents didn't know that I was smoking. But in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm nothing like my family. I'm nothing like where I came from, because I smoke. And my parents have this weird moral high ground where they're like, we don't smoke, we don't drink, we eat healthy, but you manipulate and gaslight your kids till they have no sense of identity. So it's like, but I'm going to smoke just to prove to myself that I'm nothing like my parents. Until it clicked in my mind, why don't you just make your own decisions and do other things that they wouldn't do, like be kind to people. And there's other things that you can do that like your parents would never do that will create that same kind of rebellion and separation in your mind. It makes me feel like I'm a separate person. I'm different from them in a way. Don't ask me how that works, but at least that mindset got me to stop smoking. So I turned to him and I said, if I know my why, I can stop. With every other bad habit I've ever had, smoking, over-exercising, undersleeping, over-caffeinating, every bad habit or self-destructive thing that I do, when I find my why, I always stop. Because then I'm like, I can see it and I can flip it around. But if I don't know my why and I'm just like casually poking at the issue, like with my fingers, like trying a fidget toy, putting liquid bandage on it, trying affirmations, it doesn't really get to the heart of why I'm doing it. And if you find your why, you can stop doing anything you don't want to do. And so I told him, I want to stop making myself feel this pain externally, and I want to finally like feel the pain that's inside that's causing me to do this. And as I was thinking and pondering and telling my friend all about this, he said, why don't you just quit cold turkey? Quit cold turkey, stop gnawing at your fingers and see what feeling comes up. So over the past couple of days, I have been actively trying to figure out why I do this. And I think it's for a few reasons. And I want to talk them out with you guys because you're like my little internet best friends. And here we go. I believe that most of the reason why we do self-destructive things in adulthood is because of a subconscious belief that we picked up in childhood. We learned something in childhood and we carry that with us our whole life until we dismantle it. And for me, I started doing this when I was 2 years old. My parents were fighting really, really bad. And for some context, I was walking and talking at 2 years old. So I walked up to them as the house is thundering and rattling with the sound of their anger towards each other. And I begged them to stop, quite literally was pulling at their pant legs, telling them to stop. And they told me to go sit in the corner, don't bother them again. I was in trouble for bothering them, and that mommy and daddy need to fight. And they continued to argue right in front of me, and I sat in the corner, and I couldn't take it. I could not take the feeling that was inside of me, and I needed to get it out of me somehow, so I scratched at my leg till it bled. And for some reason, doing that made me feel a form of relief. Maybe because of the pain, I do not know. But I know that eventually I moved on to my fingers, where wherever I was feeling this like sensation inside of me that I couldn't put a name to, it feels like a gnawing feeling right in my heart. I would just scratch at my fingers or rip at my fingers or chew on them till they bled, because it provided some form of relief. And it was a very negative coping mechanism I learned very, very early. I think that feeling, that gnawing heart pain, is that I feel unloved. Like, I feel like to love me is the exception, not the rule. Because I learned in that moment at 2 years old that I'm not loved enough for my parents to stop fighting. Because if I had a 2-year-old and they're running up to me as I'm having a fight with my partner in front of this child, and they're like, Mom, Dad, please stop, like, please, like, begging me to stop, the first thing I would do is like put my anger towards my husband aside, put the argument aside. We have a crying child, okay? That takes precedent over everything because of the love that I would have for this child. And it makes me feel horrible because my parents didn't feel that love for me. They don't know how to feel that love for anyone, mind you. So it wasn't because I was unlovable. It's just because they don't know how to feel love. One of them has antisocial personality disorder and the other has narcissistic personality disorder. So their idea of love and their idea of relationships is incredibly skewed. Had nothing to do with me, but I still felt unlovable. I still felt as though I'm not someone who's meant to be loved in this life. And so whenever I feel situations which mimic that feeling of being unloved, I will knot my fingers till they fucking fall off. Because there's this deep feeling inside of me that screams at me every single day. Hey Bailey, remember that no one loves you and everyone just tolerates you. And even if people say they care for you, they are lying. And even if people say they are your friend, they're lying. If people ask you out on a date, they're meaning it as a joke. Or they're meaning it because they want to sleep with you, not because they actually like you. No one really likes you, Bailey. And another thing is that every situation that I'm in, even if it's a good situation, even if there is no evidence that the people around me hate me, I will constantly monitor their behavior, and any shift in their behavior, I'll be like, oh, look at that, they hate me. Because as a kid, my mom was an extremely explosive and emotional person, so I had to constantly monitor her behavior. And if I felt even the tiniest shift, it was like, okay, you got to quiet down and you got to hide Bailey. You can't say a word. You have to agree with everything she says. You cannot piss her off. Don't go in her room. Don't talk to her because she will explode and she will tear you limb from emotional limb. I can't even explain like the amount of psychological damage that woman did to me. Like, she will make you believe that you're not even fucking human. You know, like you are the scum of the fucking earth. And whenever there was that shift in behavior, it was like, retreat, Bailey, fucking hide. So I do this with other people where I will just constantly monitor their behavior. And if there's just the tiniest little change, they speak a little less, they text a little less, they seem a little less enthusiastic, they take longer to respond to texts. I'm like, that, look right there. They hate me. They don't hate me, but I'll constantly be looking for evidence that they do. And it's exhausting. That's the feeling that came up. And so not only is there this feeling deep inside of me that I have to knot my fingers till they fall off, there's this even deeper feeling of I have to be in constant pain to feel alive. I have to be in constant pain to feel like I'm a human being. I have to be in constant pain because it's what I deserve. I have to be in constant pain because pain is the only thing I've ever known, and it's the only thing that's been a constant throughout my entire life. And so for most people, love is the constant. People caring for them is the constant. People being there for them is the constant. So whenever they feel pain or loss or sadness, they know that one day they're going to return back to love. For me, feeling pain and sorrow and fear is the norm. And whenever I start to feel love, I don't know what to do with it. And I don't lash out on other people, but I will lash out on myself. When I feel cared for, when I feel loved, when I feel as though things are going well, I want to hurt myself. Like the other day, this YouTube channel is going pretty well right now. I almost deleted it because I'm like, I'm getting too much love. I'm getting too much attention. I need to smother this. And then that released a further thought in my brain that was like, how much of your life has centered around pain? Like, how many times have you stayed in a relationship that wasn't what you wanted, or stayed in a friendship that caused you emotional damage just because you liked the way it hurt, because it reminded you of home? It's like home has always been a burning building to me. So when I suddenly walk into a home that isn't burning, I ask myself, where's the fire? Hi, it's the next day and I have another thought. Surprise, surprise, my blabbermouth. Another thing my friend had asked me to do, and that therapists and other friends have asked me to do also, is record every time that you start to pick at your fingers. Like, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? And 9 times out of 10, every single time that I go to pick my fingers, it's because I hate something. I hate my life. I hate what I'm doing with my life. I hate that I'm not going for the things that I want. I hate my job. I hate, a person in my life. I hate the way I'm living my life. I hate how lazy I am, or I hate how obsessive I am. There's a feeling of hatred, there's a feeling of disgust, there's a feeling of, God, I wish this was different. And that first initial thing when I was 2 taught me that every time you're feeling negative emotions, instead of taking like an opposite action and bettering your life and doing something that's going to help you along your path and working through those emotions in a positive way to make a positive change in your life, doing something hard to move past that feeling, I was taught that you're supposed to sit in that feeling and keep everything the same. Because there was something negative that was happening in my life when I was 2. My parents were fighting. I wanted them to stop. I had a feeling of, God, I hate this. I can do something about this and make this change. And I was taught in that moment, hey, Bailey, you're going to get in trouble if you try to make positive changes and change things that you don't like. You're going to get in trouble for that. You're going to get in a lot of trouble for that. So obviously, it's taught me now as an adult, instead of trying to make positive changes in your life and remove negative things from your life, pick at your fingers till they bleed and endure. Which is so fucked up. But yeah, anyway, if you want to stop a self-destructive habit, you have to figure out the why behind it, and then you're gonna have to come face to face with the emotions associated with that why. And for me, this has been a really, really, really emotional week, a very painful week of unlearning and relearning and trusting and loving and hating and frustration. In moments like these where I'm so emotional that I'm in, physical pain, I just gotta turn to myself and say, God, what a gift it is to be alive. What a gift it is to be alive, because to be alive and be human is to experience all of these different emotions, and one day I'm gonna be dead in the ground and I'm never gonna experience an emotion again, because that's a huge part of being alive, is feeling whatever emotions come up. And the past week I was just trying to hide whatever emotion I had within me, but it's so much better to just feel it and express it, and it's a lot easier to let it go when you do that also. So feel and express and let go. Feel and express and let go. And I'm gonna go cry. I'm gonna go cry a lot. I hate that I have to spend the rest of my life dismantling what I learned in childhood. I wish I could just be a fully functional adult and I didn't have to go through this weird healing stage of my 20s, but there is no way around, only through, so best that I stop sawing at my hands now than die in a hospital bed from sepsis. So fuck.